Many thanks for staying through here on Agricultural Research Council on Nigerian Television, your first agricultural TV station in the nation. My name is Joshua Ishaya, and of course the program is Back to Farm. Today on Back to Farm, we have Dr. Musa Musa, a climate change and agricultural production expert with the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right. Today on the program, we'll be discussing establishment of digital climate advisory service to improve rural farmers' productivity in Nigeria. Doctor, when you say digital climate services, what does it mean?
Thank you very much. Once more, welcome to this program, viewers. Good to have me. When you talk about digital climate advisory service, you are talking about those climate-related advisory and services that are provided to end users using digital platforms like mobile app, like the internet, you understand, online platform, online apps, etc. That will help farmers or other end users to make smart decision, smart agricultural decision. You are actually providing information to them at their doorstep. You are taking the information to them through digital means. We have a lot of digital platforms, and you will agree with me that the digital platforms are not actually for social media and other things. They are educative platforms that even farmers are not left behind. So this is actually a very innovative way of getting to farmers.
Okay, statistics has it before now that the number of unbanked women is alarming, most especially in northern parts of Nigeria. And if it means they are unbanked, it means they are not accessible when it comes to phone. And these women constitute a heterogeneous number of people who are the ones who farm what we eat at homes and their likes. How can digital climate services also, add to them now assessing those information using that? Do you think it's accessible for them as
Of course, you have dwelled into yet another area of women participation in agriculture in the northern area, and that actually has to do with a lot of religious belief, cultural belief, etc. And I know I work under the gender and youth unit, and actually that is actually a very big challenge for us in Nigeria, because women, even if they are allowed to go into agriculture, it is indeed the processing. They actually participate in the processing, not the actual farming. So that's the narrative that we have to nationally change, because the gender divides, you understand. The women in the northern part and the southern part, as far as agriculture is concerned, they are not having equal opportunity, because in the north you believe that a woman should stay at home, you do all the labor and break, and in the other way, in the other south, it is like the men are more into other activities, trading and others, and women are also actually more engaged in agricultural production. Of course, what the digital advisory service does is that it deals with farmers, registers farmers that you can actually provide these services to, those that have these platforms that can access this information. When we talk about the digital services, what are we talking about here? We have established in the beginning that the climate change phenomenon is actually causing a lot of alteration in seasons. Farmers should be able to get information on those forecasts, weather forecasts. You get information on seasonal rainfall prediction that the NIMET and other agencies actually, NIMET is doing in Nigeria, and in other countries there are agencies that are doing that. Of course, to be able to have access to this information, what will this information do to them? It will help them to make informed decision. NIMET does this SRP, even though now it's seasonal climate prediction, SCP. It advises farmers, this is what you need to be done. This is what you need to be done. And if we stay in Abuja alone and dish out those information, it will not get to the right places. But if we have digital platforms that farmers can access this information, these informations can be downscaled and sent to registered farmers who are actually practicing farmers in the field. Using this enable platform, that will go a long way to educate them on what to do, when to plant, what to plant, where to have access to this information. It moves from even the production system up to marketing, another enterprise. So farmers are able to get information on available markets that they can even take their product to. But the most important thing is that you have to produce optimally before you think of market. So this digital platform help farmers to go through best agronomic practices, you understand? Because if you're talking about this digital climate advice services, is that even if you do all the practices right, you need also an enabled environment. You need an environment that could be able to support those production.
Like a chain.
Yeah, it's the chain. So even if you have the improved yield, you have the soil well fertile, you have every input, you also need to understand the environment, you understand? You need to understand the nature of the environment before you could have optimum production system.
Okay, you've been in the field for some time, roughly 15 to 10 years. Can you literally like give us an example of where a farmer has actually gleaned from this very climate advisory service to end up smiling to the bank? Maybe an experience you can share with us, because the normal Nigerian farmer just want to see practically done, as against you telling him, okay, an application will solve your problem, in fact will take your produce to the market and all that. Yes.
Of course, that is the area we're actually lacking in Nigeria, and I'm aware that NITDA, the NITDA agency, Nigeria Information Technology Development Agency, is actually establishing what we call smart villages. So what we do in those smart villages, from the experience we learned from regional bodies through the ICRA project that are implementing the climate smart villages. Of course, all these practices are done in a holistic manner, holistic approach, where the farmers, the agronomists, the soil scientists, the climate experts, the community leaders are in a cluster, cultivating, using knowledge from every expert, you understand, building on the knowledge of every expert to understand the nature of the environment, to be able to know the best approach to go with this. So I know that NITDA has actually established the smart villages, and that is the level we are also advocating to move to now. And in the past, you could see that in some of those agricultural policies in the past, even up to recent, they're actually encouraging this use. I know of a time that we use the e-wallet, where farmers can have information about input, agro dealers who actually link up with farmers, etc. And those are what the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security is actually promoting now. Of course, we cannot be able to rely on just the services that the extension workers will take to the field. We need to use other platforms to be able to get to our farmer. Of course, we do not have statistics of numbers of farmers that have benefited from these digital climate advisory services, but why we are encouraging that is that we need to establish them more. We need to establish more weather stations where we can get information about the rainfall pattern, temperature pattern, to advise our farmers. So the establishment of this digital climate advisory system is actually encompassing. You need those information first, you need to generate the information, then you now need to identify those tools that are friendly, that the farmers can access. So I believe it's something that we are getting there. We have started and we are getting there. So at all levels, and the challenge is that agriculture, to a large extent, is practiced in the rural area. The state government, the local government are having the ownership of land and whatever agricultural practices are done. So most of these innovations are done at the federal level. So it needs inter-agency synergy, and state, local government and federal government coming together to agree on this thing. So if we have those technologies, we have those informations here in Abuja, how do we partner with state, local government areas to ensure that this information get to the end user? So of course we have started using digital climate advisory service in Nigeria, but we need to scale up. So the idea is for us to scale up, because that is a solution to whatever adaptation we need to do on climate change.
Okay, is that a clear-cut example of a digital climate advisory application you can literally refer us to right now?
No, it doesn't have a specific application. It is an information that you derive. You have studied the environment, you have studied the rainfall pattern, you have studied past events, you have done focus, you have information. So you now deploy those information using these enabled devices. They are already application. Your WhatsApp you can use WhatsApp, you can use Facebook, you can use the internet. You understand? So it is a way of getting information to the farmers using these devices. So, and the information is advisory services. That's why we call it digital climate advisory services.
Okay, now, Doctor, how do you think this will improve agricultural food security?
I believe strongly that for us to address the issue of failure in food production, to be able to cope with the emerging climate change reality that's affecting us, for us to be food sustained, we actually need to marry agronomic practices with environmental conditions, with the climate condition. Because you agree with me that the climate change phenomenon is actually affecting us in Nigeria, in Africa, in other countries that are rainfall dependent. So having information about planning, because this is all about planning your farming activities. What do I, when do I plant? What do I expect? At what point will I have dry spell occur? At that point that I have dry spell, what do I do? So these are advisory services that are provided to you. And what we need also to do is education, because you need somebody to be educated to be able to interpret those information, to be able to accept. Because studies have shown that if you are more educated, you are likely to accept whatever innovation that is coming to you. So these are actually the sure way for us to go if we need to adapt to climate change phenomenon, because we have done the adaptation, mitigation, but we need to also get those information on real time so that we'll be able to plan. Because if you don't actually plan, there is no how. Even in agriculture, there's planning. You need to plan. You know when to clear your land. You know when to start sowing. You know when to apply input. And studies have even shown that scientists are using nuclear technology to be able to understand the requirement, the nutrient requirement for every crop. You understand? So you know what you'll be able to add to your crop for it to germinate.
Wow. Okay, to go for them more, anyways, let's go on a quick break. Of course, when we return, we'll be talking more with Doctor, and of course, we'll be expatiating more on the topic establishment of digital climate advisory service to improve rural farmers' productivity in Nigeria. Stay tuned. Welcome back, viewers. Good to have you back on Agriculture Research Council of Nigerian Television. The program has been back to fun, and of course we've been together with Dr. Musa Musa, a climate change and agricultural production expert with the Agriculture Research Council of Nigeria. Doctor, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, productivity in agriculture is one thing that every farmer wants to actually gain yield at the end of it all. Where do you think farmers usually used to get it all wrong, in your own opinion? This is more like a digression aside from the yield. You know, some people say they lose 50%, most especially the vegetables, we lose 50% of it as a result of lack of storage facilities and all that. Where do you think is it we get it wrong from the seedlings, or we get it wrong for the fertilizer aspect, or we get it wrong from, at what point does a farmer usually make a mistake and then end up having a very bad yield at the end of it all?
Thank you very much. And the value chain,
okay,
it is a value chain from the production to the storage to marketing. etc. So if you don't do what you need to do at that point, you don't do it right. But the most important one is the production. If you have production, it is after you have produced and you have harvested that you go to storage. And it's when you store that you go to what enterprise to sell your product. So if you don't get it right from the production, from the planning stage, just like what we're saying, if you don't get it right from the planning stage, there's nothing for you to store. So at the beginning of the cultivation system, and you don't need to neglect whatever thing that is important in your production system. So taking it from the input, you want to buy your input from anywhere, you get it from the markets, from anywhere, without knowing the source of that seed, and without going to find out even those that have used it before, what are those challenges? Because we learn from our past mistakes. We also have what we call indigenous knowledge. What we have been doing before, we may not actually get the result if we are doing same thing all year round. So we need to adopt innovation practices, we need to adopt best practices, because in the CSA, the Climate Smart Agricultural Practices, what is very paramount about CSA is that it has a triple win. And one of those major triple wins is that it increases your productivity. If it doesn't increase your productivity, if it strengthens your resilience and reduce greenhouse, you are not more concerned, much concerned. But the first thing while you're going to cultivation is for you to have a good yield. So if you have good yield, of course, what will lead to good yield? It is the practices that you have done from the beginning, from site selection, from the yield, the input you use, down to storage. If you want to store, for example, you want to use your cultural method. It's a holistic approach. Yeah. So it's across the value chain, there is no actually any segment that you need to neglect if you actually want to have the end result. So across the value chain, you must take all practices and don't just rely on, yes, I know. Yes, I know.
That is where digital advisory services come in. Now, Doctor, is there any document, because I learned that has to do with how to transport your goods in Nigeria? Is there any available documents to it? Because sometimes I believe there are people who use, I think there is this train that leaves every Thursday from just to Lagos, and it takes 4 days to get there. Is there any document that can actually tell farmers, okay, my goods are ready in the far northern part of Nigeria. This is the best route I can actually navigate. It's also agricultural.
Yes.
Is there any document regarding that so people can actually
of course, to a large extent, I have not laid my hands on any document that
for your own preference.
Yes, I feel it's a good thing you have done. For example, I take example of those fish farmers that I know, that even this morning I spoke to some of them. They already have a network. If whatever product I have farmer groups that I advertise my product. I send to WhatsApp group, I send to the internet, I send to Facebook, I send to this. From my home, from the comfort, from my farm, I begin to market my products. And how it will get to whoever wants my product is now my business. We arrange. How do I transport it? Am I going to bear the cost of transportation, or you bear the cost of transportation? But I felt that if we have effective transport system, these are actually very easy. The trains are very easy to move agricultural goods from one location to the other. Of course, we have seen that testimony in the past. And right now, we are actually going through that process as a nation. I believe that one day we'll get there, because moving those produce from areas of cultivation to where the market is very, very important, like you said. So what we need to do is that we need to actually improve on our transport system. The road transport system actually being worked on. The government is doing its best, even though the cost of maintaining roads there is actually very high. The rail system are coming and going. We hope that this administration gets this right to make it easy for farmers to link their product to market. And just like the digital advisory service does, to climate advisory does, to link farmers with experts, the climate change expert, the agroclimatologist, forecast and send to a farmer so that he knows how to plant. There can be a link between farmers, the producers and consumers. You understand? Link between the farm and the market. So these platforms can actually be strengthened. All these ideas are in our policy. They're in our policy, but the way to go about it is what the government will have to plan, and implementation take a while. But I believe that with the present commitment to agriculture, because this is the first time we're seeing that the ministry is having this attachment of food security. So we have no option than to actually produce to meet our food requirement in this country.
Okay, now lastly now, Doctor, I just want to go direct to your office at Climate and Agriculture Production. Now, Federal Minister of Agriculture and Food Security has declared state of emergency in agriculture and food. In your opinion, what can we do to research, like at this very point in time, that's going to transform agriculture in Nigeria, let's say from now till probably 2024, the first quarter of 2024? What can we do to research? Is this to finance the research, or get more researchers, or get people on the field to make research? In what aspect can we easily now make that office of research, in your own opinion, you've been in the field, that we can easily like just press the right button for everything? Because believe me, this issue of climate and research, if we don't get it right, every other thing we are doing will amount to nothing. Because the climate expert need to tell you, no, don't go this route. Go ahead, okay, bring this signal, and it boils down to the climate itself. What is that very aspect that needs to be done to that table that is going to transform agriculture?
Thank you very much for this question. You know, our problem sometimes used to be that we used to be in a hurry to get a solution to whatever problem we have, and we target as quick win. And in the research, we don't have anything like quick wins, because for research it has a gestation period, and from the beginning to the end you have to follow all the procedures. So for us now, there is no any magic that you can do that say from now, if you have to carry a research of 3 years and you want to bring it to 3 months because somebody is waiting for your output result, except you are going to cook data and do it the way it suits that person, not for sustainability process. But we have a lot of research that are in the shed. What we need to do now is those researches that are proven to be adaptable in certain locations, what we need to do is to scale them up. You scale them up. When you are scaling up, you have done something in this area now, you can expand it. Okay. You understand? You have done like the SRP technology that we have developed. The system of rice intensification that was done during the WAP project in Nigeria. And what the SRP does is that the SRI does is that it tries to actually reduce the methane emission from paddy rice production. Is more of transplanting in paddy environment. So those technologies, some of these practices are labor intensive. You understand? We have to look for a way of scaling them. You understand? So that it is done in this small micro area, so it should be done in a large scale. You understand? You scale it up to other areas. I have done it, I've tried it here, it has worked. I'm moving it to other areas so that other people can also adapt this practice or this technology. The research institutes have a compendium.
What does it take to scale? What does it take now?
Of course, funding. Okay. Of course, funding. I'm going to that. The funding of research has been a problem right from time. The Maputo Declaration of 10% to agriculture has actually not been implemented to the later in most of the African countries, and Nigeria inclusive. So, and the research take even the least of those funding. So we hope that with the right people we have in place, and with the commitment now that the government is going through payment of subsidy and this and that is gone now, we hope that the government will have enough funding for the agricultural sector, like they are showing interest, and also a large chunk of those money will come into research, because it is when you have actually done research to find out, investigate a problem, that you can understand the nature of the solution that you provide. You don't just get quick win from the agriculture. That's the difference between agri and works and other ministry, because you can go now and bulldoze a road and begin to construct. But in the agri, you need careful planning. You need careful planning. You don't develop even varieties that you don't take into account the concern of those that the end user. You must bring them together. You bring them on board to understand what they want, then you develop varieties to suit their need. So for research, we can begin to scale up what we have on ground and fund other researches. There are a lot of proposals. If you call for proposal now nationwide, you'll be amazed by proposals that you will see. Yes, that you will see. But what is lacking is funding. And one thing I also want to notice that the funding of research is not just funding. For example, you have 5 years period to conduct research. Because of the transition sometimes in government, you see that this research is funded year 1, year 2, year 3. At the time that the research is supposed to yield the result, the funding is cut off. Then what do you do?
So how do you maintain consistency in this? Should there be a law?
I think that's what we will sit together and agree. What do we do on this case? And the allocation that comes to the research organization sometimes may not be enough to continue this. And I think what we should also do is to also look outside the box, not always rely on government. We can seek for funding anywhere. There are funding opportunities outside. If we believe that the government should fund us, if the government does not have enough, we should also have alternative way of funding whatever research we have. There are a lot of international organizations. I attended a course sponsored by the Executive Secretary ASEAN on grantsmanship. Of course, there are a lot of grant sourcing avenues globally, and the Executive Secretary of ASEAN has thought his wise and has constituted the Proposal Development Committee in this council, which I'm a member, in fact, the secretary of that body, and we are doing, to the best of our ability, sourcing for funds here and there to see how we can support government funding. I think we also have our own responsibility to look for funding to support whatever government efforts that is doing.
Well, Doctor, thank you so much for coming through, and of course, we hope you will oblige us anytime we call on you.
I'm always welcome.
Not really always available.
The nature of the work sometimes, the nature of the work sometimes.
Well, many thanks, viewers, for being with us here on Agriculture Research Council of Nigerian Television. It's been Dr. Musa Musa, a climate change and agricultural production expert with the Agriculture Research Council of Nigeria. And of course, he did justice to the topic establishment of Digital Climate Advisory Service to improve rural farmers' productivity in Nigeria. Until some other time, my name remains Joshua Ishaya. Bye for now.